Bill Gates hasn't been CEO of Microsoft since 2000. He stepped down from the board entirely in 2020. But in March 2025, he got pulled into emergency damage control meetings at Microsoft headquarters in Redmond. Why? Because a forced Windows 11 update just bricked thousands of computers worldwide. And the fallout is so catastrophic that current CEO Satya Nadella needed the guy who built the empire to help save it. This isn't a minor glitch. This is systems refusing to boot, blue screens of death on loop, and data loss affecting businesses, hospitals, and home users. And the worst part? Microsoft pushed this update automatically. Users didn't choose to install it. They woke up to dead computers. If you want to see how badly Microsoft is mishandling Windows, hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to show you proves they've completely lost control of their own operating system. The update was KB534203, rolled out March 11, 2025. Microsoft's patch notes called it a routine security update. Critical fixes for vulnerabilities, improved system stability, the usual corporate language that means nothing. What they didn't mention, this update had a fatal conflict with certain SSD controller firmware. Specifically, Samsung Evo and WD Black NVMe drives manufactured between 2021 and 2023. Those are two of the most popular SSD brands in the world. Millions of computers have them. When KB50344203 installed, it triggered a firmware conflict that corrupted the boot partition. Computers couldn't find the operating system. They'd power on, show the manufacturer logo, then straight to a blue screen. Your PC ran into a problem and needs to restart. Inaccessible boot device. Then it would restart and loop forever. No safe mode, no recovery options. The boot partition was toast. This started happening overnight. Users in Asia Pacific were the first to report it because the update rolled out globally based on time zones. By morning in the US, tech support forums were exploding. Thousands of posts, Reddit threads with 40,000 comments, Twitter trending with no matter Windows bricked. And Microsoft said nothing. For 17 hours, radio silence. No acknowledgement, no statement, no emergency patch. Just thousands of people with dead computers and no answers. Thomas Brennan runs an architectural firm in Seattle, 7 workstations, all high-end custom builds with Samsung 980 Pro NVMe drives. March 12th, his entire office is down. Every single computer is boot looping. His team has project deadlines, client presentations scheduled. Everything is on those machines. He calls Microsoft support, 2-hour hold time. When he finally gets through, the support rep says they're aware of the issue and working on a fix. No timeline, no workaround. Just wait. Thomas asks if he can roll back the update. The rep says the boot partition is corrupted, so he can't access the recovery environment. He's stuck. His business is dead in the water. He estimates he's losing $8,000 per day in productivity. Microsoft's response, "We're working on it." He spent $14,000 on those workstations 8 months ago. They're effectively paperweights now because Microsoft pushed an update that wasn't tested properly. By day 3, he's hiring an IT contractor to try data recovery. The contractor manages to pull data off the drives by mounting them in external enclosures and accessing them from Linux. Cost, $2,500. Then they have to reformat the drives and clean install Windows 11. Another full day of work. Lost files that weren't backed up. Days of productivity gone. Thomas is talking to lawyers about a class action lawsuit. He's done with Windows. His next hardware refresh is switching to Mac, and he's not alone. The infection rate was staggering. Initial estimates said 50,000 computers bricked worldwide. By March 15th, that number was revised to 200,000. By March 20th, independent researchers analyzing telemetry data estimated 600,000 systems affected. Microsoft never released official numbers. They went into damage control mode, issuing carefully worded statements about a small percentage of users experiencing boot issues after an update. Small percentage, 600,000 computers. That's not small. That's catastrophic. And here's the part that made Bill Gates furious enough to get involved. Internal Microsoft emails leaked to Bloomberg showed engineers warned about this exact problem during testing. 2 weeks before the update rolled out, a QA team flagged conflicts with Samsung and WD NVMe firmware. They recommended delaying the update pending further testing. Management overruled them. The update had already been scheduled. Marketing had messaging prepared. The security vulnerabilities needed patching. They pushed it anyway. Engineers explicitly warned this would brick systems, and management said ship it. When Bill Gates saw those emails, sources say he lost it. He built Microsoft on a reputation for reliability. Windows might have had bugs, but it didn't brick your computer. You could trust it to boot. That was the baseline. This update violated the fundamental contract with users. The OS has to work. Gates reportedly got on a video call with Satya Nadella and Executive VP Panos Panay, the guy in charge of Windows and devices. The call lasted 90 minutes. People in adjacent offices heard yelling. Gates doesn't yell often, but when the company he built is destroying its own reputation, he makes exceptions. He wanted to know how an update that engineers flagged as dangerous shipped anyway. He wanted to know why there was no kill switch to stop the rollout when reports started flooding in. He wanted to know why Microsoft's response was so slow that users were already switching to competitors. Nadella tried to explain the security vulnerabilities were critical. Delaying wasn't an option. Gates cut him off. You don't ship updates that brick computers. You don't trade security for functionality. You fix both, or you don't ship. That's the standard. That was always the standard. What happened? The answer is what's happening across all of corporate tech right now. Speed over quality. Ship fast, fix later. Agile development taken to an extreme where testing becomes optional. Microsoft has 221,000 employees. Their QA department used to have thousands of dedicated testers. Over the past decade, they've shifted to automated testing and user telemetry. Real human testers got laid off or reassigned. Now, updates get tested by algorithms and then by real users after they ship. You are the QA department. Your bricked computer is the test result. Rebecca Lawson is an ER nurse in Chicago. She has a home office set up for telehealth consultations she does part-time. HP Pavilion laptop, purchased in 2022, Windows 11 Home. March 12th, she finishes a night shift, comes home, opens her laptop. It's stuck on the blue screen. Boot loop. She has patient records on that laptop. Encrypted, HIPAA compliant, but not backed up to the cloud because she didn't trust cloud storage with patient data. Now she can't access it at all. She tries every recovery method she can find online. Nothing works. She takes it to a local repair shop. They tell her the boot partition is corrupted by a Windows update, and data recovery will cost $800 with no guarantee of success. She pays it. They recover 70% of her files. 30% are gone forever. Patient notes, medical histories. She has to reconstruct them from memory and other records. Microsoft's forced update cost her data she's legally required to maintain and nearly cost her her nursing license. She files a complaint with Microsoft. They send an automated response apologizing for the inconvenience and offering a $50 Microsoft Store credit. She lost irreplaceable medical data, spent $800 on recovery, and they offered her $50 in store credit. She's switching to a MacBook, and she's telling every colleague to do the same. Microsoft lost the trust of a healthcare professional because they prioritized shipping updates fast over testing them properly. Multiply that by hundreds of thousands of users, and you see the scale of reputational damage. The forced update model is the root problem. Windows 10 gave users some control. You could delay updates for weeks. You could choose when to install them. Windows 11 took that away. Home Edition forces updates. You can delay them for a few days, but eventually, Windows installs them whether you want it or not. Pro Edition gives slightly more control, but Microsoft keeps reducing it. The philosophy is, users don't know what's good for them, so we'll force updates to keep them secure. Except when the updates brick their computers, that philosophy becomes indefensible. Steven Alvarez is an independent video editor in Los Angeles. Custom-built workstation, AMD Ryzen 9, 64GB RAM, WD Black SN850 NVMe drives in RAID 0 for speed. He edits 4K footage for clients. Deadlines are tight. March 11th, he's rendering a project overnight. He goes to bed. March 12th, he wakes up and his computer is boot looping. The update installed while he was asleep. He didn't authorize it. He didn't even know it was downloading. Windows decided it was time to update, and it killed his system. His RAID array is corrupted. Both drives are affected. All his project files, raw footage, everything, gone. He has backups, but the most recent backup is 3 days old. He loses 15 hours of editing work. He misses the client deadline. The client refuses to pay for the delayed project. He's out $3,500. Microsoft's forced update cost him real money, and there's no recourse, no compensation, no accountability. He's switching to Linux. He's already set up a dual boot system with Ubuntu Studio, learning the workflow, testing DaVinci Resolve on Linux. Within a month, he's Windows free. His workstation boots in 12 seconds, never forces updates, and he controls when and if anything gets installed. He's not going back. Microsoft lost another professional user because they took away control. This is the pattern repeating everywhere. Forced updates that users can't stop. Updates that aren't tested properly, updates that break systems. And when things go wrong, Microsoft's response is slow, inadequate, and dismissive. The KB5-Zo342-Zo3 disaster is just the latest example, but it's not isolated. February 2025, an update caused AMD graphics drivers to crash constantly. January 2025, an update broke VPN connections for enterprise users. December 2024, an update caused printers to stop working. Every single month, there's a new update disaster. And every single month, users lose a little more trust. Bill Gates understands this in a way current Microsoft leadership doesn't. He lived through the Windows Vista disaster. Vista was unstable, incompatible, resource-heavy. It damaged Windows' reputation so badly that businesses refused to upgrade. They stuck with XP for years. Microsoft had to release Windows 7 as an apology. Gates remembers that. He remembers how hard it was to rebuild trust. And now he's watching Windows 11 make the same mistakes. Forced features users don't want. Performance problems, compatibility issues, and updates that brick computers. The trust is eroding again, and this time, users have better alternatives. The Linux desktop experience has improved massively. Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Pop! OS, they're polished, user-friendly, and compatible with most hardware. Gaming on Linux works now thanks to Proton and Steam Deck. Adobe alternatives like DaVinci Resolve and Affinity Photo run natively. You don't need Windows anymore unless you have very specific professional software requirements, and even those are shrinking as developers port to Linux or build web-based versions. Mac is another escape route. Apple Silicon Macs are fast, efficient, and they don't force updates that brick your system. macOS asks if you want to update. You can say no. It'll ask again later, but it won't install behind your back. That basic respect for user control is something Windows abandoned, and users notice. Enterprise is noticing too. Daniela Ruiz is IT director for a 400-person marketing firm in Austin. They've been Windows only for 20 years. After the March update disaster, she's reevaluating. They had 23 computers bricked by KB5034203. Workstations, laptops, all dead. Her IT team spent a week recovering data and reinstalling systems. Productivity loss, overtime pay for IT staff, missed client deadlines. She calculates the incident cost the company $120,000. She presents the numbers to the CFO and recommends they start transitioning to Mac for creative teams and Linux for administrative staff. The CFO approves a pilot program. By June 2025, they're planning to migrate 60% of their systems off Windows within 18 months. Microsoft just lost a 400-seat enterprise customer because one bad update proved they can't be trusted. And this is happening across industries, schools switching to Chromebooks, hospitals evaluating Linux for administrative systems, Creative agencies going all in on Mac. The migration is real, measurable, and accelerating. Here's what makes this even worse. Microsoft has the resources to prevent this. They have billions in cash reserves. They have some of the smartest engineers in the world. They have decades of experience. There is no reason updates should brick computers in 2025. This is a solved problem. You test updates thoroughly. You roll them out gradually. You monitor telemetry in real time. If problems emerge, you halt the rollout immediately. You provide rollback tools. You communicate transparently with users. Microsoft knows how to do all of this. They choose not to because speed and cost cutting matter more than quality. The QA layoffs were a choice. The forced update model was a choice. The aggressive rollout schedule was a choice. Every decision that led to the KB5034203 disaster was made deliberately by executives prioritizing metrics over users. And when Bill Gates saw the internal emails showing engineers were ignored, he realized the culture he built is gone. Microsoft used to be engineering-driven. Engineers had authority to delay releases if quality wasn't there. Now it's finance-driven. Ship dates and quarterly numbers matter more than whether the product works. Gates spent decades building a company where software quality was non-negotiable. You shipped when it was ready, not when the calendar said so. That philosophy created Windows 95, Windows XP, Windows 7, releases that defined eras. Windows 11 is the opposite, rushed, unfinished, packed with features users didn't ask for, and updates that break more than they fix. It's everything Gates fought against, and watching it happen is killing him. The March meltdown wasn't just about bricked computers. It was symbolic. It represented everything wrong with modern Microsoft. A company too big to care about individual users. A company that forces changes instead of earning adoption. A company that treats its OS as a subscription platform instead of a tool. Gates sees it clearly. He's not involved in day-to-day operations, but he understands brand value. And Windows brand value is collapsing. Consumer trust surveys show Windows satisfaction at a 15-year low. Net Promoter Score, the metric measuring whether users would recommend a product, is negative for Windows 11. More people actively tell others to avoid it than recommend it. That's catastrophic for a product that used to have 95% market share and user loyalty, so strong people wouldn't consider alternatives. Now, people are not just considering alternatives, they're switching and telling everyone why. Marcus Leung is a tech YouTuber with 800,000 subscribers. He's covered Windows for a decade, always balanced, fair, gave Microsoft credit when deserved, and criticized when necessary. After KB5034203 bricked his editing workstation, he made a video titled, "I'm Done with Windows." It got 4 million views in 5 days. Comments flooded in from people sharing their own horror stories. The video became a rallying point. Other tech YouTubers made similar videos. The narrative shifted from "Windows has issues" to "Windows is untrustworthy." Microsoft's brand took a hit they can't undo with marketing. They tried. April 2025, Microsoft launches a PR campaign, TV ads showing Windows 11 features, social media posts highlighting security, sponsored content about innovation. None of it addresses the real problem. Users don't care about features when the OS bricks their computer. You can't advertise your way out of a trust crisis. You have to earn trust back through actions, and Microsoft's actions keep making things worse. May 2025, they pushed another update, KB5036745. This one caused Wi-Fi adapters to disconnect randomly. Users started joking that Microsoft's QA department is just a magic 8-ball. Will this update work? Ask again later. The jokes sting because they're rooted in truth. Updates feel random. Sometimes they work. Sometimes they break things. There's no consistency, no reliability, and users are tired of being guinea pigs. Bill Gates proposed a solution in those internal meetings. Slow down. Bring back real QA. Make updates optional again. Let users choose when to install them. Test thoroughly before rollout. Roll out gradually, monitoring for issues. If problems emerge, halt immediately. Communicate transparently. These aren't revolutionary ideas. This is basic software development practice, but it requires admitting the current model is broken, and Microsoft's leadership doesn't want to admit that because the current model is profitable. Forced updates keep users on the latest version. That reduces support complexity. It pushes users towards subscription services integrated into Windows 11. It generates telemetry data that feeds AI training. The forced update model serves Microsoft's business interests, even if it hurts users. Gates argued users come first. If you lose users, you lose everything. Nadella argued shareholders come first. Stock price, revenue growth, cloud integration. Those are the priorities. The philosophical divide is clear. Gates built Microsoft by serving users. Current leadership serves investors, and users are paying the price. Sarah Thornton is a librarian in a small town in Vermont. The library has 10 public access computers, all running Windows 11. The March update bricked 7 of them. The library's IT budget is $1,200 per year. They can't afford professional data recovery or replacements. A local volunteer IT person spent weekends recovering what he could. 3 computers had to be completely wiped and reinstalled. Patron data was lost. The library had to shut down computer access for 2 weeks. In a rural area where many people don't have home internet, the library is a critical resource. Microsoft's update cut off community access to the internet, job applications, government services. The library board is applying for a grant to replace those computers with Chromebooks. Microsoft lost a community institution because they couldn't be bothered to test an update properly. These stories are everywhere. Home users, small businesses, schools, hospitals, nonprofits. The impact is universal because Windows is everywhere, and when Microsoft screws up, everyone suffers. The scale of damage from one bad update is hard to quantify. Lost productivity, lost data, repair costs, replacement costs, opportunity costs. If you assume each bricked computer costs an average of $500 in recovery and lost productivity, and 600,000 computers were affected, that's $300 million in damages caused by one update. Microsoft's response was a support article and a patch released 8 days later. The patch, KB50368892, was supposed to fix the boot issues. It didn't. It only worked if you could boot into recovery mode, which most affected users couldn't. So Microsoft released a recovery tool you had to download on a different computer, put on a USB drive, boot from the USB, and run the tool to repair the boot partition. That worked for some users. Others still had to wipe and reinstall. The recovery process was so complicated that non-technical users couldn't do it. They had to pay for professional help or give up. James Whitaker is a retired accountant in Florida. He's 68 years old. His computer bricked. He tried following Microsoft's recovery instructions. Download the tool on another computer. He doesn't have another computer. He asked his neighbor. The neighbor helped him create the USB recovery drive. He booted from it. The tool ran and said it couldn't repair the boot partition. Error code 0S0101098. He searched the error code. No clear solutions. He gave up and took the computer to Best Buy. They quoted $200 for data recovery and OS reinstall. He paid it. He got his computer back a week later. Everything worked, but his photos from the past year were gone. Not backed up, gone forever. Family photos, vacation memories, everything. Microsoft's update stole his memories, and there's no compensation, no apology that matters. He's 68. He's not switching to Linux. He's not learning a new OS. But he tells everyone he knows to avoid Windows. His book club, his church group, his neighbors. Word of mouth is brutal, and Microsoft earned every bit of negative word of mouth from this disaster. The human cost is what Bill Gates saw and Satya Nadella didn't. Nadella sees metrics, quarterly reports, stock prices. Gates saw James Whitaker losing family photos. He saw Sarah Thornton's library shut down. He saw Rebecca Lawson's patient data lost. These aren't statistics. They're real people whose lives were disrupted because Microsoft prioritized speed over safety. The June 2025 shareholder meeting was tense. Investors asked about the update disaster. Nadella gave a rehearsed answer about commitment to quality, lessons learned, and investments in testing infrastructure. Investors didn't care about the bricked computers. They cared about user retention and market share. Nadella showed them cloud revenue growth, Azure adoption, and Microsoft 365 subscriptions. Windows market share dropped 2 percentage points, but overall revenue was up. Shareholders were satisfied. Gates wasn't. He owns less than 1.5% of Microsoft now, so his voting power is minimal. But he still has influence, and he used it. Behind the scenes, Gates pushed for leadership changes. Panos Panay, the Windows chief, left Microsoft in September 2025. Officially, it was to pursue other opportunities. Unofficially, he was pushed out after the update disasters and declining Windows satisfaction scores. His replacement is Mikhail Parakin, formerly leading Bing and AI efforts. The message is clear. Windows is now an AI delivery platform, not a standalone product. The focus shifts further away from stability and user control toward integrating Copilot, cloud services, and subscription models. Gates sees this as the final nail. Windows isn't about serving users anymore. It's about monetizing them. Every feature is designed to drive engagement with Microsoft services. Every update pushes users toward subscriptions. The OS is secondary. The data and recurring revenue are primary. That's the strategy, and it's killing Windows' reputation among power users and professionals. The mass market hasn't fully caught on yet, but they will. Every forced update that breaks something teaches more people that Windows isn't trustworthy. The bricked computer crisis of March 2025 will be remembered as a turning point, not because it was the worst thing Microsoft ever did, but because it was the moment users stopped giving them the benefit of the doubt. Before, people complained but stuck with Windows. After, they started leaving. The exodus is slow but steady. Linux desktop market share hit 6.1% in July 2025. Mac market share in the US reached 23%. Chromebooks dominate education. Windows is still the majority, but the majority is shrinking, and the users leaving are the passionate ones. The ones who recommend products to others. The ones who influence purchasing decisions. Lose them, and you lose the future. Bill Gates knows this. He lived through the browser wars, the antitrust trials, the Vista disaster. He knows how fast dominance can crumble if you ignore users. And he's watching it happen again, powerless to stop it, because he's not in charge anymore. The people in charge care about different things. They care about AI integration, cloud revenue, and subscription growth. They'll sacrifice Windows stability to achieve those goals, because Windows isn't the profit center anymore. It's the gateway to the profit centers. And if the gateway gets a bad reputation, they'll figure that out eventually. By then, it might be too late. The trust will be gone, the users will be gone, and Windows will be just another OS, not the OS. That's what Bill Gates is melting down over. Not one bad update, but what that update represents. A company that forgot how to care about the people using its products. And in tech, once you lose that, you've lost everything.